make them work and like it. It was a headline from the Iron Age. I guess it was a magazine. The trend in American society to the other-directed man. Now, what they use terms in this particular profession that manipulates the minds of people. There's the inward man. I'm just getting off the book for a minute. The inward man is the man who grows up taking his values from his father, primarily, and grandfather. That's what they mean by that. Now, relate that back to what people like Lord Russell says, Bertrand Russell said, well, they would have to take the children from the parents. He said that before he found out they could indoctrinate them perfectly through scientific techniques. They meant mainly the man, because to change our world society, that which stood in their way was the old values which were held mainly by the men. And how do you get round the men? Well, you alter the men. You alter society, the society of man. You alter them. And you create a new type of man, the systems man, who's a team player. And the term they use for the one who's been encouraged to be part of the group is the other-directed man. Other means they're directed by the scientists, basically. So getting back to the book, the trend in American society to the other-directed man, the man who more and more belonged to groups and played on teams, was welcomed and embedded by a large segment of the United States industry. It wasn't just industry, it was governments too. People who coalesce into groups, as any general knows, any general of an army, are easier to guide, control, cope with, and herd. Easier to guide, control, cope with, and herd. And I've said this before, that at one time the communists welcomed groups, they encouraged groups, because once they'd been up and running for 2 or 3 years, you could gradually infiltrate your own person into the top. And now you have control of ready-made groups, all listening and waiting for your direction. They encourage it on the internet. They're doing vast studies on all the groups and chat rooms on the internet. They have been since they gave it to them. I've read articles where they're doing the same thing with cell phones to see who you call, and they're subtyping you into groups with you and your friends, and so on. But these are from mainstream newspapers. And also, too, when any group is on the right path with something, if they can't swear off the path, they simply put in the agitator to agitate the group. It says here, people who coalesce into groups, as the general knows, are easy to guide, control, cope with, and herd. The team concept was an aid, if not an outright necessity, to big business and big labor and big government that came increasingly to dominate the American scene at mid-century, the 1950s. Charles Wilson, a graduate of big business who went to work for big government as Secretary of Defense, summed up the new thinking when in 1956 some of his leading subordinates were airing their feelings. He was reported growling, "Anyone who doesn't play on the team and sticks his head up may find himself in a dangerous spot." Early in the 50s, Fortune magazine, which has frequently articulated the conscience of big business, viewed the trend uneasily and used the term Orwellian word groupthink to describe much that was going on. It suggested that businessmen, while deploring creeping socialism in Washington, might well look at some of the subtle but pervasive changes going on right in their own backyard. Its writer, William H. White, Jr., stated, "A very curious thing has been taking place in this country almost without our knowing it." Well, actually, it was without most folks' knowledge. In a country where individualism, independence, and self-reliance was the watchword for 3 centuries, the view is now coming to be accepted that the individual himself has no meaning, except as a member of a group. He said that a rationalized conformity was coming more and more to be the national ideal, and cited the appearance in growing numbers of social engineers willing and eager to help business managements with their personnel problems. These social engineers, he pointed out, bore some resemblance to the students of human relations of the Elton Mayo School, who did pioneering work in diagnosing factors that cause us to work most enthusiastically. But where the latter shy at the thought of manipulating men, he added, the social engineers suffer no such qualms. In early 1957, Mr. White spelled out his apprehensions in his book, and it's an excellent book, I have it. It's called The Organization Man. This trend to the other-directed person was a fact of deep interest to every persuader interested in more effective manipulation of human behavior. It showed up in many areas of American life, even in their novels, TV shows, and children's books. Then they give you a list of books and so on, and stories that captivated people, and were actually indoctrinating you into the groupthink mentality through novels. It says here, in its study of the space shows on television, they were going for the youth. Remember, the technique was for social engineering. It wasn't just for consumerism, wasn't just to make massive profit. They always do make massive profit, absolutely. But it's also to change society, just like science. Look at the definitions of what science and technology are there to do, to change and alter society. Skinner said, remember, that if you want to alter the behavior of peoples, you alter their environment. You put something else there that wasn't there before, like a TV set. Getting back to the book. In its study of the space shows on television, social research noted that the same other directedness is glorified. The children love these shows. The team is all important. Think of the Star Trek series. The team is all important, and the show's appeal is based, it can include on the child's lack of confidence in his own ability to cope with situations that can be overcome by his gang. Back with more after the following break.
2770.
Hi folks, I'm Alan Watt, and this is Cutting Through the Matrix. And I'm going through some of the techniques that were and are used to create this team, this groupthink, this we're all one type system we're really in today. And reading from The Hidden Persuaders by Vance, Packard. I'm going to go over this a little bit again to do with television because it was aimed at the youth. Remember, the youth grow up to be the next adults. They'll be adults in 20, 30 years. And the world is to be changed accordingly to their indoctrination that they were given when they were young. So they'll accept it thinking it's all quite normal. That's how it works. But it says here, in its study of the space shows on television, social research noted that this same other directness is glorified. The team is all important and the show's appeal is based, it concluded, on the child's lack of confidence in his own ability to cope with situations that can be overcome by his gang or team. The crisis or basic dilemma arises when the individual becomes isolated from his team and has to fight evil alone. Think of all the Star Trek series that followed in the 60s. That's exactly what happened there. When everyone got killed, they were stranded or cut off from the rest and were killed. But the team together always won. A professional persuader who devoted much of his effort to persuading people to support worthy causes observed that mid-century man is more easily persuaded to follow as one of a crowd under a leader than to work alone for the same end. Then he goes into even how the comedy shows work. It's a picturesque manifestation of this trend to other directedness can be seen, I suspect, in the small matter of, this is a small matter of laughter, that shows you how it works, of laughter on television. It's been discovered or purportedly discovered that people who are more apt to laugh and enjoy themselves if they hear other people laughing. Since live audiences are often bothersome or difficult to manage because of all the cameras, etc., or even bad jokes, put it that way, the trend in TV has been to the canned laugh. They call it canned laugh, a laugh reproduced by recording from some previous happy crowd or synthetically manufactured. The president of one network defended the canned laugh by saying, no one likes to laugh alone. Again, they're counting on this groupthink as well. Everyone wants to conform and be the same as the guy next. No one wants to say, I didn't get the joke. He goes on then to give you a whole series of different names where they purchased canned laughter and how they all use them. You don't even have to tell a real joke today. It's called like a joke in comedy, as the scriptwriters say.